how we can improve on this game. So, one of the things, like we previously mentioned earlier, that you have to be really, really careful of in this matchup is the fact that Yasuo is a very snowball heavy champion, right? So if you don't play this lane correct and you can say don't space properly, or you kind of walk up into the wave and don't really respect his range, then he's going to get a couple of kills on you, and if he's good, then he can actually E through you and Q, and his original E will get rid of your spell shield and the Q will still knock you up. So you have to be very, very careful about how you kind of maneuver this lane, but if you do it properly, then obviously what happened this game will happen. So, right, so it did lag a little bit. Now, one of the first big things that we were kind of doing wrong, you'll see it on the next one. Actually, we see it here, so this is a perfect example. So, right here, what do you think your overall goal should have been?
I think I should have harassed
Yeah.
Yasuo. Oh, right here in this moment.
Uh huh.
I would probably go for that CS right there.
So the CS is important, but we could have also got autos into him, right? So like here, so see how he walks back there and we've got nothing to do? That's a good time. That's like a good window for us to throw some autos into him. So right here, we get this. And then as soon as we get it, we kind of walk back and we don't really do much, right? Whereas right here, there's only 2 caster minions, which means this wave doesn't really have a significant amount of damage in right now in order to do a lot to us, right? So even if we get one auto attack in to pop his shield, that's good for us. Just
Wait,
because...
at this point, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's
At
fine.
this point, uh, would you rather me, like, for example, just harass him and then pop an E, and
Yeah.
then just like auto attack my minions?
Yeah, what you can also do on Malzahar as well is you can consistently use your E for poke, and then just farm with your autos as well. Because what actually happens all too often is in these same matchups where you're playing into like a Yasuo, and if he gets control of this wave and freezes it back here, we're kind of doomed because we've got all of this space that we have to walk back in order to get back to our tower. So our lane is all of a sudden really, really long, and now that opens up opportunities for us to say get ganked, or even from these ways, which are the more dangerous ways because you have to walk back through the jungler, or even like by here, right? Like if they walk up like this, they can potentially gank you too, and especially someone like Diana, she can Q a minion, E to it, and then E on top of you as well. So we do have to be very, very careful about kind of the way we play the lane, and the fact that we're consistently using our E on the minions was actually pushing the wave constantly. So if he evaluated that we were permanently pushing the wave when we shouldn't, then this could have been a really, really rough lane for us, you know? So it's kind of like we made a big mistake by doing that and we didn't really get punished for it. But what you can do instead is you can use your E for poke and then just farm with last hits. Especially until you get your lost chapter. And then obviously once you've got your lost chapter, things do change. But like in these situations, so not here, but in the next moment, now, another really, really big thing that we need to take into consideration is their bot lane pulled, right? Let's have a look. So yeah, their bot lane actually pulled. So we know that Diana is in this bottom side of the jungle at that point, right? Let me go back to where we were. So we know that Diana is in the bottom half of the jungle, right? So what do you think is the problem with... let's just get to this point. So what do you think is the problem with how you're positioning throughout your lane now?
So she's. It's 2 minutes. She started red.
I think she did, yeah. Kale didn't pull, and I think bot did. Unless they fake leashed, but...
If she
So,
wanted to gank me, I would be making it very easy for her.
exactly. So by you playing towards this bottom kind of half of your lane, what you're actually doing is you're making it easy for her to actually come on top of you. Now, what's another kind of thing you can do based on positioning in lane? Where else can you stand? Now, you're in a ranged into melee matchup, so like you can stand basically anywhere in this half of the lane, and it's completely fine. Because, he has to jump on top of you. Now, what else is another reason why we should be prioritizing being in this half of our lane?
Um, Nothing really comes to mind except Yasuo's positioning.
Okay, so think of the bigger picture. So if we take a look at our minimap here, so we know Diana's in her bottom side of the jungle, but where is our jungler?
Jungler's on the top side.
Exactly. So he's actually going to come to these chickens now. So this is kind of where we want to be staying. Because if, say, for example, say Diana does come for a gank or Yasuo goes really aggressive on us, what we can do is we can just run up this way and we're at the safety of Kayn, right? So making sure you're playing in the areas of your lane that are actually going to be faster for you to move is really important. Just as much as when Kayn is in this bottom side, especially when he's coming for this crab, we should be in this area. Because what happens if crab is available, we're here, Yasuo's here? What is this kind of referred to as? You'll know it, I'm just not sure if you'll know it in this context.
Yeah, it's a pincer move.
Kind of. So this actually means you have priority. So even though it doesn't seem like it because of how the minions are, if the minions are in this space, we're here and Yasuo's here, we're actually going to get to that fight way sooner. So in theory, we actually have priority in this situation. So we'll have a look how we play that. I can't actually remember how it went, but let's just have a look. So here, so this is where we actually said to start getting some more autos into him. So right here, so...
You said to start respecting him.
Yeah, just his. So only when he's got his tornado up, because when he's got his tornado, obviously that's where we have to be a bit careful. And then he will pop too soon, and he'll be able to jump on us. Now, usually when we hit level 2, we actually want to be the aggressor, but Yasuo is very, very strong early game, so it's kind of hard for us to. And he's resourceless too. Now, this wave is actually in a good spot for us because this is actually coming in, so this is good.
That's mainly because there's like 3 steps. Right. Well, I mean, if I'm level 2, I have to pop his shield with my auto attack E and Q.
Yeah. And your level 2 is not the best. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not really the best. So your Q gives you something, but you really need your W in order to get a lot of damage off. So right here, so this is another really big mistake, right? So what do you think the big mistake is in this moment in a second? So right here, what's the mistake?
I'm a little too close to him.
Yeah, so A, we're very, very close. And it's a massive wave. Now, if he actually E's on top of you here, and starts... Like, if instead of him using his wall like that, if he would have just E'd through this minion, E'd on top of you and Q, this is a very dangerous position for us to be in. But he didn't, so we kind of got away with it. But, yeah, now this wave, there's no way that this wave will not crash into your tower, right? Now, this wave is also so big. I mean, we've got, what, 6 casters here and a cannon. This wave is doing so much damage that we're not even going to lose anything from just walking back to our tower early. So we just walk back to our tower and we farm it under tower safely and we just leave it at that.
Gotcha.
So... Yeah, so what we can actually do here as well is when it's actually dropping low, and so just out of curiosity, how many tower shots does it take to get a cannon into kill range? Do you know?
Not sure.
So it's 7 full tower hits. So after 7 tower hits, we can get an auto in and we can last hit that cannon. Obviously, we couldn't do that there, but we could have actually used that Q to just pop it. It doesn't really... So it's okay for us to use mana on the cannon because it gives so much gold, right? So it's actually okay if we use a bit of mana on it. Like, well, 3 or 4 cannons is a kill worth of gold, depending on the timing game. So it's okay to use a bit of mana on that. It's fine. So right here, we actually see him bot. So, firstly, one of the things that we're not really doing enough is we're not actually moving our camera. Like right here, like we're fully focused on hitting the minions. Now, have you ever used your F keys before? Okay, so this is potentially something to pick up. Now, one of the big problems is if you try and move your mouse over this map to see things, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to miss these last hits. Now, what you can do is, you know Yasuo's there. If you last hit a minion and then F key over bot lane, what you can F key while your auto attack command is actually coming out, and then what that's actually going to mean is that you don't really lose any time from pushing the wave, if that makes sense. So you're not really going to lose anything because say when you're about to last hit this minion, or say this one, let's say we're about to last hit this minion now, so we throw our auto out and then we instantly F key over bot lane. Now, why do we do that? Why do you think right now?
Sorry, could you repeat yourself? It's a little difficult for me to understand you.
It's okay, it's okay. So right here, when we send out our auto attack for this caster, why should we be looking over bot lane?
Well, you're basically taking care of two things at the same time. You're multitasking essentially.
Yeah, partly. But what else should we have been looking for in this moment?
Oh, well, yeah, we should have been pushing.
We could have pushed, but also we have teleport.
Yeah.
So if we would have actually looked over this, now we don't actually have information here. So I can't actually tell you if it's a good or bad thing for you to potentially TP in bot lane, because we're not actually gathering the information that we need in order to make that decision. So this is kind of one of the big things to learn in the game in these levels, is the fact that you want to get all of these fundamental things out of the way so that you can then start learning kind of how the game's meant to be played, right? It's kind of like at the moment you're kind of trying to ride a bike, but there's no pedals on the bike. So it's like you can still ride that bike, but it's much harder than it should be, if that makes sense. Yeah, because
I would have played this game completely different to
yeah, and this is the
how
thing.
you were playing, because of the fundamentals that you were like showing me in the lane actually did help me a lot.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like the goal of kind of coaching is for us to obviously like the idea. Oh, you're gonna go to platinum straight after the session. Like maybe not. Like we'll never know, right? But the main thing is that we're just giving you all the information that you need in order to just improve. Now, most of the stuff that we go over might be slightly advanced, but in the grand scheme of things, like you'll also cover a lot of the basics that you need to. So yeah, so right here, so this is one thing that I did also notice as well. We go for really, really greedy recalls, quite a lot. Now right here, you've already pushed this wave in. So what we should actually be looking to do here is to just instantly, we can walk up to this point here to just to ward over the wall just so it's faster. And then we just quickly walk around here into the bush and recall. Now we didn't know where Diana was. She's not really a danger to us, but we didn't know where she was. But we started kind of recalling out in the open, right? So she actually managed to stop it. Now the next thing is, see how much time we actually spend on moving the camera into bot lane here. So 47. So it took us 2 full seconds to gather information about that bot lane. Well, 3 seconds. Now that could have been done in half a second with an F key. Also here, we can't reset now because she's just cancelled that recall. So we've lost our recall timing, but it's okay because, you know, we're probably still not going to be able to 1v1 Yasuo in lane yet anyway. And also we've got plenty of mana. We don't really have a significant amount of gold. So here we could have actually just gone a bit aggressive on her. Just a few auto attacks, just something to kind of punish her a bit for what she does. But now we can't reset. Now, why do you think, again, kind of bit of general knowledge. So looking at, so this wave that we pushed in here, right, this big one. Why do you think this was a recall timing? What is significant about this wave?
It's a large wave. It's full of casters.
Yeah. So do you know what number wave this is? Do you ever number or letter your waves? Some people like to go A, B, C, D, E, F. Some people like to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some people like to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What do you think is significant about the third wave in lane?
Well, I mean, as far as I know, it's like canon, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this wave is wave number 2. So that means that your cannon is actually coming out your base now. So if we actually manage to recall here, we get into base, we spend that amount of gold, and then we get back into lane, A, with the cannon, so we can harass him for his cannon and make him work for it. And B, we have no threat whatsoever that he's going to get our plates. Because by the time he's pushed a cannon into our tower, A, we're going to be able to claim the cannon very easily, and B, he's not going to get any plates out of it. So we're actually in a very good position if we back there. Now, because we didn't back there, it means if we back now, we do lose our cannon. Because the tower will always target this cannon as soon as it's finished with the first melee. So we have to just push this in, basically. Like, we could have let it come back and freeze, but right there. So we have two options. We either let this slow push back into us and not use anything on it, but because we use our E on it, and now we have to just crash the wave. But we can crash the wave and get a reset in, and that's fine. But we don't make any specific decision, right? Like, where we kind of get caught in between two decisions, which kind of shows that you weren't thinking kind of as far ahead as you potentially could have. So whenever you use mana in the lane, or whenever you decide I'm going to do this on the next wave, you need to be sure that that's exactly what you want to do and then fully commit to it. Now, if you fully commit to it and it turns out to be a massive mistake, then it's not going to end the game, especially in Gold 1 or Platinum, whatever elo this is. So it's not going to end the game. And then on top of that, we're also going to just play a bit safer after that, and then we're okay, right? So yeah, it doesn't really change too much, but we just have to make sure that if we make a mistake, we just learn from it. Like, you're going to make plenty of mistakes. One of the biggest things to kind of get out of your mind mentally is that you're not allowed to make mistakes, because if you don't make mistakes, you're not going to go anywhere. Like, so it doesn't matter about making them as long as you learn from them. So right here, we are in a little bit of danger because he can get on top of us quite easy. We do have a level advantage, but we do have to be a little careful about how we walk up. So right here, this is fine. Now, the next thing, again, that we did mention as you're playing the game, but we always want to take into consideration, is right here. And this is another wave that is pulling into us. So let's say, for example, this is another mage. Let's say you're playing against, let's say, Victor. Now, if, say, for example, you're playing into a Victor or any mage, Victor, Orianna, Syndra, what are the kind of rules about where the wave pushes in and pulls in? So have you ever heard of push and pull? So the push and pull rule basically means that if the wave is pushing in, so this is halfway, and just just to remember, it takes a minions 22 seconds to get here. It's just a nice number to remember. So if the wave is significantly larger on either of these sides, it will push in. It will slow push. Like, if there isn't minions to offset the amount of damage. So right here, this wave, there's no way it isn't going to pull into us. So what we want to do is, even if we lose, say, one minion here, which we're not going to because it's so big, even if we were to lose one minion, we still go further back, right? Because if he ease through this, he can get on top of us and do damage that we don't need to take, and there's no reason. So usually, if we're playing against a different laner, if the wave is bigger for you and is pushing in, that's when we want to harass. That's where we want to fight them. That's when we want to try and get a trade. Because if that happens, our minion wave is so big that it will do a significant amount of damage to them. So it's really, really important that we do that. And if it's pulling into us, this is the one that people usually don't take into consideration, is if it's pulling into us, we can just step back. We can just go to safety. We know we're not going to get ganked. We're not going to get damaged. We can just walk back, conserve our HP, conserve our mana, and it will just come into us. So it's just kind of like a good overall rule to kind of follow when it comes to the state of your laning phase. And then here, and now this is actually in a good spot for us. We could look to trim it down slightly, so just put a few more autos into it, but it's okay. We do actually stop him from crashing as well, which is pretty nice. Because if he crashes here, then the wave resets, and then it'll be in his position. It'll be in a position that's better for him. We do hold these minions, which is good as well, just because now we get a slow push. So now what we can look to do is we can look to only last hit, slow push this wave in. If he keeps fighting it like this, it's just we're gonna stay safe from ganks, nothing that can go on. But the Kayn is also looking here. So this is actually really good for us. And then we get the ult on him, which is a nice easy kill. Now, one of the good things is, I think obviously there's a lot of kind of mechanical and decision errors going on, but I think when you are playing your skirmishes, you are playing them fairly decent, right? Doesn't mean there isn't other things you are doing wrong, but you're playing them okay. Which means that as long as you get these fundamentals down now, your champion knowledge is actually okay for the elo that you're in. So once you get these kind of nailed down, you're good. Now, right here, we have to just reset. We can't even interact with this fight, purely because we've got a massive amount of gold, and, we've got no mana. So, again, we took a really greedy recall there, and that ended up wasting a lot of time for us. And then this, just get Dark Seal here, it's just nice, We've already got one kill, and he's just playing the lane terribly, so... Well, I think we saw him bot here. Yeah, we saw him bot there, so we can push in. Now, again, like I mentioned before, one of the important things in mid lane as well is that in mid lane and mid lane only, I think it's all 14 minutes, and you get less gold for a cannon. I think it's 10 less gold, but your cannons actually have 30% bonus attack speed to the tower. So champions like Malzahar are really, really good because a lot of the champions in mid, champions that like to roam, right? The things like the Zeds. You'll see a lot of Talon in solo queues, stuff like that. Like, a lot of champions do want to look for roams, especially since the waves spawn every 30 seconds. So like we previously said, there's 22 seconds for the waves to actually meet, which ends up meaning that there's like that big kind of 8-second window where there could be no minions in lane if you farm it instantly, So it does give you a lot of opportunities to roam, which is why mid lane is so powerful. But it also means that you end up in kind of awkward positions sometimes. But, if they are going to roam off, then we can just get the tower and just get plates. If they roam and they don't get at least 2 kills, on Malzahar, you can get almost 2 plates with every cannon wave. So it's like, you end up really, really strong. Now here, one of the first things that you want to do, one of the first fundamentals that you want to do when you're pushing a wave in is you want to, as soon as the tower starts focusing the cannon, you want to instantly W, and then when your voidlings are coming out, throw a Q. It doesn't matter where you throw the Q, because your Q will give you a stack on your voidlings. So if you just throw out a random Q, you get more voidlings. Now see right here, we don't use our W till the cannon's nearly half HP. And then, we don't get as much. Like, we could have maybe forced another wave, but it's a little risky, and there's no reason to risk. We're very strong right now. One of the biggest things in solo queue is just don't really risk in general, Now, we did get roughly 7 CS a minute by 10, which is okay. Now, obviously, that can be improved, but the goal is 10 CS a minute, but in this lane, it's really hard anyway, So, here, so we get this recall off. So this, we kind of stay a little bit too long, right? So right here, what you want to do is you only want to throw a few autos into this tower because these minions will do enough damage, right? So you want to throw a few autos in just to get it down to maybe 2100, and then we just walk away and let these minions finish it off. Because these are probably doing about 35 damage each right now. So, we can just leave it when it's, say, 100, 150, and we'll still get the plate, and we can just get a good recall off maybe here, and then we can come out with this cannon, right? So again, our recall timing was really, really kind of awkward, and that resulted in, A, we ended up walking back too far, and B, we didn't get back in time for the cannon, so now we kind of have to stay, but the Yasuo engages on us here, see? So because the cannon wave's already come in, we will lose this if we recall. So we either stay, push the cannon and then reset, or we have to use our teleport. So we don't really want to use teleport here.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah. So, again, this was kind of... Yeah.
May I ask you a question about
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
So, ideally, you never want to have to use your TP for a lane. You always want to just use it either defensively in a fight or aggressively in a fight, right?
Yeah, although, if, say, for example, there is also other usages for it, right? So, say, for example, on this wave, say we have the advantage now, right? So say we're 2-0-0, we're playing into a laner that can't really contest us. I mean, Yasuo can't if we spend this gold. So actually, this could have been something we could do here. So what we could have actually done is we could have recalled, let him start pushing this wave in, and then what we could have actually done is as soon as this wave comes in, and it's, say, around here, we could have actually TP'd onto the cannon. Now, what's going to happen if we TP onto the cannon here is the cannon's going to freeze, and the melees are going to walk into your tower. And then, you can hold the cannon and potentially slow push a wave in. If we manage to catch the casters away, we can maybe even get a freeze. But that's another thing you can do. So you can also use your teleport in order to freeze the wave, keep the wave in a position that you want, and further kind of force your lead in laning phase. So that is another option for it. That is, again, though, a kind of aggressive TP. So it kind of falls under the category that you'd already mentioned. But yeah, in general, that's another usage that you could use for it. Because see right here, we need to kill him anyway. Now, if we would have instantly flashed away, yeah, we would have killed him and got out. But we did get a little bit greedy with that. But, you know, so the problem is now, because we're farming mid and we're getting a lot of XP, we're currently level 10. So now another thing to just go over quickly. Why specifically do you have your champ portraits here? Is there any reason, or is this just still default for you?
It's default for me.
Okay. When you go into a game next, go into your settings and move it so it appears above the minimap. There'll be like a setting somewhere for it. So why do you think it's more important for it to be here?
It's just killing two birds with one stone.
Exactly. Yeah.
With everything else.
Currently, your eyes are moving up here to see if they've got ultimates, or to see what HP and stuff they are, and then all of a sudden you're looking back to the minimap to see what's happening. So F keys do help this, but you know it doesn't really change your gameplay at all, and it'll just help you. It's just I don't know why it's not default, to be honest. I don't know who would play with it up here, but it is what it is. So right. Oh wow, yeah. I mean, you didn't do it on purpose, so I can let you off. It's fine. It's fine. So now Kale's actually lane swapped, but you know it's not really that big of an issue. And we actually managed to defend this. Anyway, again, the flash was probably needed just because we don't have passive, and the Diana jumped on top of us, right? So if we would have just kind of flashed to the side and then ulted, we would have actually lived here. So again, we kind of got greedy with.
I wasn't expecting Diana to just
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, so
She got plus whatever.
yeah, so another thing that you can do is you can kind of, although you're trying to envision what you're trying to do in this lane, another thing that you can also do is you can kind of think, well, what are they trying to do? So she's popped the herald down. There's a cannon coming in, and there's three of them in this lane already, right? So it's like the likelihood is they're trying their hardest to force this mid tower out. So what you need to do is in this moment, you need to kind of prepare yourself and go, well, what do I have available? What will I have available? And what do I need to avoid? So if the Diana jumps on top of you and ults you, as we saw, you're going to die. Now, I know that's slightly kind of results-based analysis because we saw it happen. But in general, these are kind of the things you want to look out for. Like we've got our flash. If she jumps on us, we just flash away. And then obviously that's sort of what happened. But, you know, we could have survived.
It said I thought that right there I was safe, but I should have been looking at Diana
Yeah.
carefully because I was just tunneled and I don't know what I was tunneling on.
Yeah. Because and then you got Diana ulted into a Nami bubble, so it was a very unfortunate situation. I'm not gonna lie, but you know it's not the end of the world. So right here, your goal is to basically just get prio instantly, purely because they're on dragon right now, and you want to make sure that this laner stays in the lane. Now, once you get your lost chapter on Malzahar, you can almost always get prio. Like, there's very few situations where you can't. And it's up to AD laners to try and shut you down before you get to your lost chapter. Because if they shut you down before you get to your lost chapter, then it's going to be a very rough lane for you. If they don't, then it's going to get to a point where you have so much expendable mana that you end up in a position where you can push waves and then just harass them. And they have to choose between either the waves or fighting back. So kind of that push and pull rule. But once you get your lost chapter, it goes to the next level. It goes to like the extreme, you know. So here, this fight is already over as well. If a fight's already started or midway through, once you start moving, the likelihood is it's going to be over by the time you get there. So instead, the Kale's in lane here. So they're even in numbers. Vlad and Yasuo are dead, so it's a 3v3 right now. So what you want to do is you just want to harass this Kale in the tower. Because what's actually just happened is we pushed a cannon into her. And now we haven't gone aggressive. We haven't really punished her. We haven't really stopped her from getting this cannon, if that makes sense. She's just found it for free. Yeah.
There was something like in bot lane.
Yeah.
I would have like had the F key or
Exactly, F keys as well. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, one thing you can do as well is sometimes people find F5 awkward to kind of use. You can also change your F keys to F1 to 4. Sometimes that can be seen as a little bit of a kind of sinner binding, but Since usually you're meant to kind of F2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to lock back on yourself and then go back. But I prefer it that way. Just see what works better for you. The important thing is just that you start using them, really. So yeah, here we could have potentially just pushed one more wave before we reset. So another thing kind of to always have in your mind is you always want to look to push a wave and then decide what you're going to do after you push that wave. So push a wave, do I need to roam? So I usually go by 3 Rs, just because it's easy to remember. Do I want to rotate? So that would be, say, for example, you just push mid in, and bot lane have just taken first tower. So you push that wave in, reset, and then rotate into bot lane. Are you going to reset, which would be, say, you've just crashed a cannon in, or there's a cannon coming out, we want to reset, spend our gold because we got lost chapter, and then we want to come back out? Or do we want to roam? So do we want to potentially push that wave in? Have we just backed and pushed a wave out? Have we got everything we need? Okay, maybe we can push the wave and then look for a roam into bot lane because they're pushing. Stuff like that, you know? So just kind of sticking to these kind of like 3 Rs. And it'll just make it much easier to decide what you actually want to do after you've pushed a wave. So right here again, we go push mid out. And then bot lane has a wave there. If they're fighting on Herald, fine, we'll leave them to it. One of the worst things that we can do is go and try and help with that. Because especially past 14 minutes, the Herald is not going to provide them with anything significant. It's a wasted objective. It's this... In lower elos, people have this kind of obsession that Herald after 14 minutes is useful when it's not. The only use for Herald after 14 minutes is if, say, tier 2 is down, you can Herald this and instantly get the inhib just with a Herald without a wave. So a little cheesy. You also have to walk through the entire jungle to get there. So, you know, it's not great. It's just a pointless objective. So what we want to do is we want to go and try and benefit off our team being bad, if that makes sense. So the fact that the Jhin is now on Herald means that he's not in bot lane, which means now we can go and farm bot lane. This was also a very good ward because that keeps you safe. So we go push this wave in. There's a Krug camp available as well. We may as well take it. 1 camp for us is 1 less for the enemy jungle. So here we just push this out. Tristana can't really do much. And then we just keep pressure. Like, that's all we need is just pressure. Obviously, you had me as well telling you this game. Like, there's 2 people showing. Like, somebody else is on the map. These are kind of things you need to look at more often and see for yourself. But, you know, that'll also come in time. So here, we kind of go up to the play nicely, but we go way too far around. Now, Tristana's back here, and she's their consistent damage. So we just walk up this way and look to maybe catch them in kind of like a pincer or flank. We've got flash, we've got ult, like, we should be fine. And then by the time we get there, we've kind of gone the wrong way, so now we don't really get anything. Except Tristana still loses waves in bot lane, which is good. Yeah.
Maybe get my Q onto something, but you know, I was not trying to like do what I.
So I mean that's okay in some situations, but one of the things we need to do before we actually so one of the things we need to do before that is we actually need to press tab and see who we need to be flashing on. One of the things is like you're not really gathering enough information from using tab either to kind of evaluate, well, do any of them have a bounty? Who's their main damage threat? If you flash and kill one person, is that going to mean that they run out of damage? So, like, for example, in this game, if you were to, for example, flash on the Yasuo, the Trist is going to kill you. And if you flash on the Trist, then the Yasuo could potentially kill you. So, I mean, we could have potentially flashed, but it's a bit high variance. So, I mean, it's not mandatory. It could have been good, but the thing is, it's only going to be a dragon that we get out of it. So if it's, say, a Baron and you flash ult the jungler, then okay, great. But, you know, it's something you could have done, but I don't think it really would have changed that much. And now here, they can push mid inhib alone anyway. We're just going to get more pressure. We just keep going and farming this.
Yeah, the team relatively was decent compared to, like, my other games. But
I mean, they did still throw quite a lot, though. Like, look at that fight. They threw significantly there. So, I mean, the thing is, one of the things as well that you'll also find is this kind of like psychological thing where if you're doing bad and the rest of your team are doing well, it's much easier to think that the entire game's going bad than it's just you, right? So in these situations, you're just doing really well. So your team are actually doing well too, but they're also kind of making a lot of mistakes. But we're not really seeing them because, it's just popping off. Now, here actually one of the big mistakes is your camera control. So right here, your camera is over the fight, but it's not where you need to run away from. There's no way you kill all three of these, so your camera can't be this aggressive. Now, in this area, what information are we getting from here?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, exactly nothing. Now, this is your escape route, which means your camera, these should be in the top left, and you should be able to see this area here so that you know to run away, or you know how you're running away. And now you kind of fumble a little bit.
Yeah, instinctually I was like, oh, okay, maybe I could probably get like a double kill.
Yeah.
But then I didn't even realize how powerful Kale was.
Yeah. Kale at level 11 is very, very strong. And then obviously we end up dying from.
How she was in lane, and then like now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she spikes significantly at level 11. So here as well, mid inhibs down. We want pressure for Baron, so we want to just go and push this out. Yasuo is kind of inted at this point. So we want to just go and push this wave out. And now we get the Baron for it. It's simple. Like, one of the biggest mistakes that happens in these elos is that people will go for an objective without priority. Now, what happens there is if there's no priority, then they're not forced to stay in the lane. Now, if they're not forced to stay in the lane, they can move to the objective. Now, a lot of the times in these elos, people will still move to the objective no matter what, because they don't realize how much gold they're actually losing in the lane that they've moved from, right? So, for example, as soon as it hits 25 minutes, the waves are worth roughly 195 gold each. That's obviously taken into consideration an average over 3 waves. So it's 195 gold each. So if you can push 3 waves and deny them 3 waves, you've just got, like 2 kills worth of gold and denied them 2 kills worth of gold. So it's at this point of the game where you become insanely powerful if you play it right. Now again, we don't have full stacks, but we're playing quite defensively. We're playing well. We're not going to lose those Magi stacks. And we're on a huge power spike right now in our Leandries and Zhonya's and Boots. The Oblivion Orbits just stop their healing. So we can get Magi's and just look for as many kills as we can now. Now on top of this, this Magi's also gives you an additional point of haste out of your Leandries, because even though it's not a legendary item, it functions like a legendary item, if that makes sense. So you also get more of it. So it's a very, very cheap way of getting mythic stacks.
Yeah, it's a good investment.
Yeah.
For the amount of gold that I have currently.
Yeah, and this is the thing as well. It's about making sure that you spend all your gold and get the best item possible. Like, if, say, for example, we back on 1700 right now, we can maybe just get a Morello's, not because it's great for the game, but because the soul is coming up soon, and it's the most damage we can get in one slot. So slot efficiency is always something that's really important, but, that'll kind of come with time a little bit as well. So here as well, there's no reason really to back yet. There's no objectives to take. So because there's no objectives available yet, and you've pushed in both mid and top, they're losing so much CS, and we just go and take jungle camps. Now, we could have taken their camps here because we've just pushed waves in so that we have vision. So what we should have been looking to do, actually, is just go like this and like this. And then reset, come out, get blue buff, and then come to the dragon. So that's what we could have looked to do. And then what that does is that just completely suffocates them of all their gold. It means that no matter what happens, it's very hard for them to come back into the game because they're losing CS in lanes and they're also losing jungle camps too. So it's something to always take into consideration. If you can steal an enemy jungle camp, do it. It's really, really important. So we do have a lot of gold now. I think if we would have full cleared everything, maybe we would have been able to get Void earlier, but it's okay. So yeah, so now, like, we know that we have TP, we can always teleport to this Baron if something goes bad. We also have a very easy ward to TP to here, so that's always an option. Now, if, say, for example, somebody shows bot and we've just crashed this wave, we can also just walk up, crash mid 2, and then go to Baron, and somebody's forced here, and then waves will be lost here. So that's also something we can look to do. But if this Baron fight is just going like it is, again, we could have F-keyed over it for easier access. but this fight is just going horrible. So we're not going to join in on a fight that we don't need to be there for, you know? So we just push in, and if they're going to ignore us, we just get the inhib. Like, easy as that. So here, focus on getting the inhib first, and then get the wave after. Like, we can either wave, but try and focus on autoing and Wing the inhib as much as possible. Otherwise, we end up in a kind of position where maybe we die before we manage to get it, and it's much better to get the inhib and lose CS than to get CS and not get the inhib. And now again, we're just going back to pushing mid out. There's a dragon available. What we could have actually done here is we did waste a little bit of time as well. Is while they're messing about, what we could have also done is just walk up and EQ this next wave, just to get this wave pushing into them, right? And then we just go back in the same space. It just saves us all this wasted time that we didn't really do anything. And now, you know, we're just looking to just poke them. Now, another thing is here, you should have moved your camera a little bit further down to see the dragon HP earlier. Or what you could have done is left-click the dragon and then keep it in the top left. And then, you know, we're very fed right now. Like, we're, 8, 9 CS a minute. So we're very strong. And see, we just easily win these fights now. So you've kind of set yourself, and look at the levels as well. You're level 18, like your Pike's level 12. Like, they're all level 15 as well, level 14 as well. And this is purely because...
I didn't even realize that.
Yep. And this is all because of how much XP has been wasted in these side lanes because they've just fought. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, like playing mid lane and top lane is so important in low elo. And it's the easiest way to climb. I mean, top lane's easier than mid, but mid's also very good. Purely because as long as you play your champs properly and you play the correct champions, you can just continuously do this to people over and over. You don't have to force anything early. Malzahar is kind of unique as well. Like, there's a lot of champions where kind of... after they get a certain amount of items, they kind of fall off massively, right? So, like, let's say, for example, Diana Jungle, when she gets a Proto Belt, when she gets a Nash's Tooth and her Boots and her Medjay's, she's very, very strong. Now, the items after that don't really change. Maybe a Rabadon's, but it's very hard to build. Like, they don't really change too much of how the champion plays out, right? She's still going to be very strong. She's still going to jump in. She's still going to one-shot. Now, with Malzahar, basically every single item that you get is another really, really big power spike on him. Because his wave control and the fact that he can completely disable somebody with his ult means that every single item you get means there's just a higher range that you can one-shot somebody with your W and ult, right? Like your EW ult combo. So Malzahar's just very good all around. And obviously you can see from this game, I mean, we got 282 CS a minute, which what do we usually get? So if we just refresh this now, usually you get 6.4 CS on Malzahar, and all of a sudden this game we get 8.8. And this game didn't seem hard at all. Now, I know your team were very fed, but, you know, you're hitting 9 CS a minute, and we were still making some mistakes in terms of CS and stuff like that as well, you know? So... yeah, if you can just replicate this playstyle, you'll climb easy. Like, you'll climb in no time. Like, I'm pretty sure that if you've been Plat 1 before, without knowing all these things, it's very reasonable to assume you'll just get to Diamond. So it's a case of just now taking what you know about the champions and then kind of adopting their actual playstyle, and you'll climb.
Are you gonna like I don't know, publicize this video on YouTube or something?
Yeah, so I've recorded the VOD now. I can upload it to YouTube if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Just anywhere I can like just access it.
Yep.
There's just a phenomenal amount of information.
Yeah. That's why I record the. Yeah, that's why I make sure to record the sessions. Like, usually I just stream them, but I decided lately that I'm just gonna start uploading everything to YouTube. So.
Like going to the side where I'm not supposed to, I'll track back to the video and you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think we covered pretty much everything that actually went on. But yeah, did you have any other kind of like questions or anything about anything that we've covered before we wrap up, or?
Dude, absolutely. You've been fantastic. Thank you so
No,
much.
no problem at all. So I'll upload it.
I'll for sure get you back because yeah, this wasn't what I was expecting.
Okay.
But
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm happy we could sort out a lot of the problems. And again, like I said, like I think, like in terms of just skirmishing and stuff like that on Malzahar is pretty solid, you know. So it's just a case of making sure that you're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, and your climb will be easy. Now the site did change lately, so I think you have to purchase sessions, and then you'll get through to a page where you can select me specifically. But yeah, I'm sure you'll work it out. I can't see it because I work for the site, but it should be fine. But yeah, so if there's no other questions, I did give you an invite to my Discord too. If you set your roles in the role channel, you'll be able to see everything. If you have any questions or anything, obviously just drop me a message. But otherwise, good luck with your climb, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much, man.
No worries, my dude. I'll catch you in a bit. Take care. Stay safe. In a bit. Bye bye.